Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. I played it on the PS4, it's also available on the Xbox One, it'll be available on the PS5 and Xbox Series X when those eventually come out. And I swear, I have a Crash Bandicoot t-shirt somewhere, I just have no clue where. Okay, so let's get into it. As it turns out, the bad guys that have been banished previously, well, they're breaking out and they're breaking, dimensions and time and all of those important things to the universe. So, of course, it's up to you as Crash Bandicoot to stop them, and you must find the other masks. There are other masks that have unique powers, which is pretty cool because it affects the gameplay. But of course, there's all sorts of weird time and universe fuckery that goes on because, that's how this kind of game works when you've got time travel in different universes. That being said, the story is there, it's fine, and it's not really the focus of these games, though. So it simply existing is really just kind of good enough. Let's get into the audio next, which I gotta say I really enjoy. I enjoy the wacky kind of cartoony vibe, and the voiceover work adds to that. So does the music. I think the music really does a good job. I think it really fits the game. I think it fits the different zones, and I think it works very well with what's going on each time you are in a level. Of course, the sound effects, they match the cartoony vibe, and they work, and they just, man, they're a throwback for me, I'll say it. It's some nostalgia going on there. But let's get into the most important thing in a Crash Bandicoot game, and that is the gameplay mechanics, which this is really like an old school Crash Bandicoot game. You have your sections where you are running away from the camera, you have your sections where you are running towards the camera, you have your sections where you're going side to side. And it's all about the old school platforming, and there are a couple of different modes to it, as well as different things you can do, like you can play these rewind levels, you can play as different characters, you can switch costumes, etc. Which I'm slightly worried the switch costumes thing is going to turn into some microtransaction bullshit, but it hasn't yet. What I do like is the level design. I think it's really well done. I really enjoy it. I think the mechanics work well. It's definitely that old school platform game, and by old school I mean PlayStation. I don't mean like ye olde NES Mario and so on. It really does feel like playing an old school Crash Bandicoot game, just, better. And let's talk about the quantum masks, which I mentioned earlier. I think they're pretty cool because they give Crash and Coco different powers. They're kind of less of masks. They don't really wear them on their face so much as they become like these crazy suits, but you get different ones like the mask of phasing, which will allow you to make obstacles that aren't there appear, and vice versa. Which adds a level of difficulty because, you're jumping and suddenly you need to make a platform appear, and so on down the line. You've also got a mask that makes Crash or Coco spin and turn into kind of like a helicopter type thing. So they're automatically in attack mode, as well as it allows them to jump and kind of jump further, hover, etc. Not really hover, but kind of glide down. There's also a mask to slow down time, and I really like them because they add a different element to the game. They add to the basic platforming, which is something that might be a little too easy for some people, not me. But it's important because it does add a little bit extra to it, as well as there's collectibles and so on down the line, just to add for replayability. There are those people who are going to go back and want to get 100% on every level, just 100% the entire game, and good luck to them. I'm not among those people. But that being said, I will say this, it's hard. It's been a very long time since I've played a Crash Bandicoot game, and man, getting into it, it was really challenging. I was actually surprised at how challenging it was. I really wasn't anticipating it, but I gotta say, I do enjoy it, although there are definitely times where I want to put my fist through a TV or two. But that being said, it's a good kind of challenging because it rarely feels unbalanced. There were a few times where I was like, that's some bullshit. But generally speaking, I felt like when I died, it was my fault. Which will bleed into the controls because, with any good platforming game, you need good, precise controls, and I feel like the controls are very good. The only thing that regularly throws me off, it's something that I just cannot get past in my head, is there's no momentum in this game. And what I mean by that is, if you stop pushing on the stick, your character stops moving, and that includes when you are jumping and you are in the air. So, and it works, it works, but I'm just so used to the idea of momentum that it throws me off because I'll expect to be able to let go of the stick and he'll keep carrying forward and he doesn't. But that's on me. It actually works very well. The controls respond very well, and if you fuck up, you generally feel like you fucked up, not the game screwing you over. Now, let's get into the visuals, and I love the visuals. Like I said earlier, it's a very cartoony looking game, and man, I love the way they did it. I love the design of Crash. As a character, I like the design of all the characters, and I really enjoy the designs of the worlds. Each of the different worlds has their own unique theme, each of the levels looks different, and the characters are really well done. I like this modern cartoony look. I like that they've updated it, but not going ridiculous with it like they've done in previous games. Again, haven't played them, but I've seen them and I'm like, ooh, god, that's some cringy shit. So I'm glad that Crash Bandicoot really does kind of stick to its roots visually. I think that's important if you're, adding to a franchise that you actually give a shit about. But let's wrap this up, and I'm gonna say that Crash is very much a tough but fair game, and it is very much an old school platformer, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, even though at times it really frustrated me. Because for all those moments that it's driving you up the goddamn wall, when you land that jump that you've botched, when you finally complete that level that you're stuck on, yes, I probably just suck worse than most, I'm aware. I mean, it has been literally decades since I played Crash Bandicoot. But I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. All of those things, all of them come together to work very well visually, the controls, just all of it. So yeah, I recommended this game. I fully recommended this game. Even if you've never played a Crash Bandicoot before, this is a great one to play, and if you haven't, well, the N.Sane Trilogy is out there. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, what's the last Crash Bandicoot you played? Mine was Crash Bandicoot 2, like, back on the PS1. And always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one. I played on the PS4, it's also available on the... Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, what's the last Crash Bandicoot...